There are some careers that seem destined for greatness from the very beginning. Then there are careers that become truly unforgettable because the athlete walks away, finds herself again, and somehow returns even stronger. Alysa Liu's story has both. She was a teenage prodigy who shattered records, became a two-time U.S. champion, competed at the Beijing Olympics, and then made the astonishing decision to step away from competitive figure skating at just 16 years old. For nearly 2 years, the ice was no longer the center of her life. But in 2024, she came back, not because she needed to prove anything, but because she had rediscovered the joy of skating. What followed was extraordinary. She became the 2025 world champion and, in February 2026, captured Olympic gold in women's singles at the Milano Cortina Winter Games. ISU skating. Alysa Liu was born on August 8, 2005, in Clovis, California, and grew up in Richmond, California. She began skating when she was 5 years old, and the sport quickly became a major part of her childhood. Even before she reached her teenage years, it was obvious that she possessed unusual athletic ability. Her flexibility, speed, balance, and fearless approach to jumps made her stand out among young skaters. But her development was not simply about natural talent. Figure skating demands enormous discipline, and Liu spent years training and competing while steadily adding more difficult elements to her programs. Her father, Arthur Liu, played an important role in supporting her early skating journey. Alysa is the oldest of 5 children, and her family background has remained an important part of her story. Her father immigrated from China, and Liu has spoken Mandarin. Growing up in a large family gave her a strong connection to her roots while she pursued a demanding career that often required intense training and travel. ISU skating. By her early teenage years, Liu was no longer simply considered a promising junior. She was becoming one of the most exciting young skaters in the United States. In 2019, at only 13 years old, she won the U.S. Women's National Championship. The victory made her the youngest U.S. women's champion in history. She also became known for her ability to land the triple axel, one of the most difficult jumps in women's figure skating. Her technical ambition helped distinguish her from many of her competitors. NBC Olympics. Liu successfully defended her U.S. title in 2020, proving that her first championship had not been a fluke. She continued to develop as an international competitor and became one of the most closely watched young skaters in the sport. At the 2020 World Junior Championships, she earned a bronze medal, adding another major achievement to her rapidly growing resume. But becoming a teenage skating sensation came with enormous pressure. Every competition brought expectations. Every jump was analyzed. Every performance was compared with the previous one. Liu had reached an elite level at an age when most teenagers were still trying to discover who they were. The attention that came with success could be difficult to separate from the simple joy of skating. Still, she continued forward. In 2021, she competed successfully on the senior international circuit, preparing for the biggest opportunity of her young career, the 2022 Beijing Winter Olympics. At the Olympics, Liu finished 6th in the women's singles event. She also contributed to Team USA's bronze medal in the team event. Later that year, she earned another major international medal by winning bronze at the 2022 World Championships in Montpellier, France. For many athletes, that would have been the beginning of an even greater career. For Liu, it became the end of her first one. In 2022, after the World Championships, Alysa Liu retired from competitive figure skating. She was only 16 years old. There was no dramatic injury forcing her to stop. Instead, she wanted a different life. She wanted to experience things outside competitive skating and discover who she was without the constant pressure of training and competition. She stepped away from a sport in which she had already achieved more than most athletes could dream of. She went to UCLA. She explored life outside the rink. She had the opportunity to experience an ordinary existence that had largely been unavailable to her during her years as a skating prodigy. For a while, competitive figure skating became part of her past. Then something unexpected happened. She began to miss it. In 2024, Liu announced that she was returning to competitive skating. The decision surprised the figure skating world. But this time, her relationship with the sport was different. She was not returning as the young prodigy trying to satisfy expectations. She was returning as a young woman who had stepped away, lived life outside the rink, and chosen to come back because she wanted to skate again. ISU skating. That distinction became central to her comeback. When Liu returned to competition in October 2024 at the Budapest Trophy, she was competing for the first time since March 2022. She won the event, immediately showing that the time away had not erased her ability. She continued competing throughout the 2024-25 season, rebuilding her programs, confidence, and competitive rhythm. Wikipedia. Then came one of the biggest surprises in modern American figure skating. At the 2025 World Championships in Boston, Liu won the women's singles title. She scored 222.97 points overall and became the first American woman in 19 years to win the World Championship. The achievement was remarkable because only a year earlier, she had been away from competitive skating entirely. The Guardian. Her victory transformed the story of her comeback. She was no longer simply the former prodigy who had returned. She was a world champion. The victory also changed expectations heading toward the 2026 Winter Olympics. Suddenly, Liu was one of the favorites. The same athlete who had once stepped away from skating was now being discussed as a potential Olympic champion. But she had already learned an important lesson during her time away. Medals did not have to determine her value. That mindset became one of her greatest strengths. At the 2026 Milano Cortina Winter Olympics, Liu entered the competition with experience that few of her rivals possessed. She had already competed at Beijing as a teenager, won a world championship, and experienced both the pressure of being a prodigy and the freedom of stepping away from the sport. She delivered when it mattered most. Liu won gold in the women's singles event with a personal best total score of 226.79 points. She became the first American woman in 24 years to win Olympic gold in women's singles figure skating. She had already helped Team USA win gold in the Olympic team event, making her a double Olympic champion at the 2026 Games. ISU skating. The symbolism of that victory is difficult to overstate. At 13, she had been the youngest U.S. women's champion in history. At 16, she had walked away from competitive skating. At 18, she returned. At 19, she became world champion. And at 20, she became an Olympic champion. Her career had come full circle, but in a way nobody could have predicted. What makes Alysa Liu's story so compelling is that her greatest achievement may not simply be the Olympic gold medal. It may be the fact that she learned how to define success on her own terms. When she was younger, skating was surrounded by expectations. After leaving the sport, she discovered that there was a life beyond competition. When she returned, she was able to approach skating with a different mindset. That freedom transformed her. Her skating has always been technically impressive, but her comeback added another dimension to her performances. She returned with maturity, experience, and a deeper understanding of why she wanted to compete. The pressure that once seemed overwhelming became something she could approach from a different perspective. And that is what makes her journey so inspirational. Alysa Liu's story is not about never experiencing doubt. It is not about having a perfect path. It is about understanding that sometimes stepping away is not failure. Sometimes taking a different direction is exactly what allows an athlete to return stronger. Her journey also challenges the traditional idea of what a sports prodigy is supposed to do. A young athlete can dominate early, change direction, take time away, and still return to the highest level. Success does not always have to follow a straight line. For young athletes watching her story, that message is powerful. You can work hard without allowing your sport to define your entire identity. You can experience setbacks without believing they are permanent. You can change your mind. You can walk away. And if the passion returns, you can choose to begin again. Alysa Liu did exactly that. Today, her resume includes 2 U.S. national titles, a world championship, 2 Olympic gold medals from the 2026 Games, and an Olympic singles title that placed her among the most accomplished American women in figure skating history. But behind those medals is something even more meaningful, a young athlete who learned to choose her own path. Her story reminds us that greatness is not always about how early you arrive. Sometimes greatness is about having the courage to leave, the wisdom to rediscover what you love, and the strength to return when the moment feels right. Alysa Liu did not simply come back to figure skating. She came back on her own terms. And somehow, that journey carried her all the way to Olympic gold. Thank you for watching this tribute to Alysa Liu and her remarkable journey from teenage skating prodigy to world champion and Olympic champion. If her story inspired you, make sure to like this video, share it with other sports fans, and subscribe for more stories about athletes who overcome expectations and redefine what is possible. And let us know in the comments, what inspires you most about Alysa Liu's journey? The courage to walk away, the decision to return, the 2025 world title, or her incredible Olympic triumph in 2026?